Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back. It's Chris E, sales master from Sydney, Australia. But before all that, I just want to, refresh my face with my my skincare, my loving skincare product for men. Atomy Energizing All in One. Tommy Home Energizing All-in-One. This is a no-brainer product for men. Only one product, four in one. So it's two color. Okay. Okay, let me just put this and then announce in my group that we are live. I am live. I have gone live. And yes, the recording is now recorded. So English session has now been recorded. So let's just go straight to session live now. Okay, today I have a topic that is one of my favorite topics about a product, which is Manuka honey. What's the difference of Manuka honey and regular honey, if we can say a regular or any other honey? Why is it Manuka honey so expensive? And yeah, I think we're gonna have all, that information tonight. Okay, and let me just go to my notes and let's see. Let me just go back, and all this basically uh, is taken from many different sources. From Manuka honey's farmers and Australia's science. Australia's regulatory of Manuka honey. So there is an organization in Australia to actually make sure that Manuka honey is actually authentic, like the UMF ratings in New Zealand. So yeah, let's dig into it without further ado. Okay, so yeah, so this is the website that I've been reading. So from Australia, Manuka bioactive honey. Okay, and yeah, basically Manuka honey has been a long, has been a very very long time available. So, and Manuka honey is basically a plant that called leptospermum honey, and it's originating in Australia. Basically, mainly is from Australia, but then there are there are one species of leptospermum which is in New Zealand, and New Zealand is the first country who actually commercialize Manuka honey. But as many of us know, Manuka honey is same with honey. It has, with any other honey, it has the antibacterial factors, right? Antibacterial effect. So this is where we understand that honey can is a very very good, has a very very good effect and health benefit also for us. Okay, let's continue. So yeah, so basically that's the benefits. And the first thing that we want to know definitely straight away is why Manuka honey is expensive. And you can see it from here. Manuka honey is actually expensive is because it's a rare commodity. Now, rare commodity, because of what? Because of the main reason in the past is because the cost to produce, and yeah, the cost to produce, and because of it's a very rare product, rare commodity, because it's only available in Australia and New Zealand, it makes Manuka honey becoming expensive. Okay, one of the things is the producing of Manuka honey can be more cost because there are tests, ongoing tests to ensure that Manuka honey is actually authentic, genuine in the, genuine, because in the past there are bad manufacturer, not really, I shouldn't say bad, but there are lots of seller of honey, producer of honey, who takes the confusion of Manuka honey, and then and label themselves as Manuka honey, so thus creating a false advertising of Manuka honey in the past. And thus, I think since then on, there's a lot of tests that has to be done, uh, to make sure that Manuka honey integrity production to the market is actually kept at the higher standards. And thus, in New Zealand they have the testing to prove the level of Manuka honey, for example, like UMF in the past. Now in there is another way of measuring or ratings of Manuka honey, which is MGO, NPA, and things like that. Later on, we'll see that. Yeah, but mainly it's because the cost of producing Manuka honey is actually uh, completely not completely. It's more expensive at the end of the day. It's also because rare commodity, because of this. Because of this is one of the main reason in the past, which is recently the Australian government is trying to actually change this and make it more commercialized and more affordable. Okay, commercially affordable. So so in the past, the area where the plants is actually available is actually at a very remote area and very difficult to access, so like in the hills, and then you know on the cliff or things like that, of which the operation to actually collect the collect the honey is very difficult, because they have to use helicopters, to actually transport the bees during the period of which is actually flowering. And not only that, already the location is difficult. The flowering period is very short, which is only 4 to 6 weeks during in a year. So thus the window is very very short, and that is why it's very very costly, because it you know doesn't really matter how much is the cost of the helicopter at that time. You have to do it, because the window is a very specific and short window period to actually collect the nectars. So as you can see, so that's the other reason why Manuka honey becoming a very very rare commodity. So I think that's the main reason why it's actually becomes a very very high, expensive. With honey, other regular honey, you don't really have to actually test it. There's no rigorous testing to actually prove it's honey. Honey is honey, coming out from a bee. But with Manuka honey, the testing to test the authenticity and the level of uh the antibacterial activities is really the one that really making it more expensive. Okay, so now let's now dwell into the history of Manuka honey. So as I said previously, New Zealand is the first one to actually commercialize the name of Manuka honey. Manuka is basically the wording or from New Zealand's. So and they are the one that who make the term commercials. Now, although they are the first one, technically Manuka honey is actually originating from Australia because Manuka plants is basically leptospermum, species is originating from South Australia, I believe, native to Australia. Yes. So that's where Manuka tree is actually starting, and then it goes, to New Zealand, and New Zealand is the first one to actually commercialize the term Manuka honey. So that's how it is. But to give you an idea, yes, it started actually in 1776 by Johann Forster, and yeah, it's actually native to Australia according to this, right? So and they are found nowhere else in the world. So they are only found in Australia and New Zealand. And I have another note, but I will have to search for it. Uh, there is so many Manuka honey, and yeah, and one of the species of Leptospermum is actually in New Zealand. Now, to it is native mainly in Australia, but there are, I think there are one research that I found about the species of Leptospermum, of which also also available. I think also available in not available. Also exists in Southeast Asia, which is in Indonesia, I believe. But anyway, let's go past that. So basically, Manuka honey has been there for a long time. As you can see, it's not even it's only recently. I think the past 10 to 20 years, but it's actually go past beyond the you know 19th centuries. It's even before that. It's on the 18th centuries. So you can see that. So and this is because when the European started arrival in Australia, they started to actually pollinate, bring their European bees, and then start to pollinate crops in Australia. And there are what they didn't, like you said here, like it says here, right? What they didn't know was that when the bees collected nectar from Manuka plants, the honey produced would have exceptional properties. So at that time, it's actually already happened during these days also, and they did notice that at that time because it has a different color and strong taste. Okay, so this is where it's actually says here, right? Interestingly, this is almost 20 years prior to the arrival of bees in New Zealand, which makes Australia the original home of Manuka honey. Due to its dark color, strong taste, much of the earliest crops of Manuka honey were fed back to the bees as its flavor was stronger than eucalyptus or clover anise. So at that time, because of the dark color, a different color than the normal honey, and the taste is strong taste compared to the regular honey, and maybe at that time they didn't like it or something like that, they use much of this manuka honey back as a food to the bees. And in 1988, the unique therapeutic of manuka honey discovered, and that's because of the research carried out uh, in clinical settings by Mullen and Russell's 1988. And as a result of this, there has been a significant increase in demand, and this has driven further research into why Manuka honey is so special. So, now you can see here Australia is home to 84 of the 87 known Leptospermum species in the world, including the Leptospermum scoparium species, and only one species is found in New Zealand. And the benefits of Manuka honey is to fight against antibiotic resistant pathogen. So we know all this. That's why Manuka is so good because of the therapeutic effect, the antibacterial activities that can be provided. Now, to say that antibacterial activity, all honey, we just need to understand that all honey have these activities. Okay, but the we will talk later on the difference why it's actually Manuka honey is actually very very good. Okay, so this is just to say that, right? To say that the high level of MgO have been discovered in Manuka honey samples sources in Australia. The level of DHA and MgO found in some Australian honey is comparable or higher than those observed in New Zealand Manuka honey. So the MgO here is the one that we will understand later. This is actually the one that makes Manuka honey really different compared to other honey. So MgO is MgO is actually methyl glyoxal. Now that you will understand, we will understand that later. But this is the one that I really think the information here from this website is really important. Why? Because the antibacterial activities in honey is not exclusive to Manuka honey, and it's all because of the hydrogen peroxide in honey. So we will be, so hydrogen peroxide uh is the antibacterial activity, the same stuff that we put on cuts and scrapes as an antiseptic. Okay, so honey have this hydrogen peroxide, and this hydrogen peroxide is uh, is the one that making honey exhibit antibacterial activity. Okay, so that's antibacterial activity is due to the hydrogen peroxide in the honey. Yes, so this hydrogen peroxide is the same stuff that we put on cuts and scrapes as antiseptic. Now, what then makes Manuka honey special? Now, the problem with uh, the problem with the making of honey, because raw honey is so, if I can say, dirty in that sense, it's contaminated with many different stuff, of which unhealthy. Thus, honey usually have to be purified, and to purify the honey, they use heat. And the problem with heat, the hydrogen peroxide is actually sensitive to heat, and thus by heating it, by purifying it, which we call pasteurizing, then the effect of the antibacteria is degraded. So the activity is degraded because of the heating, because of the purification of honey. Because we need to purify the honey because it's having more uh, bad components in the raw honey in itself when you first take it from the from the bee, right, from the bee's nest. Now, so this is where it says, first of all, while all honey in the hive starts with antibacterial activity, they don't all have it once it's in the jar. Why? Because hydrogen peroxide is very sensitive to heat. Most honey producers use heat to extract honey from the honeycomb to to pasteurize it. Heating the honey severely degrades the hydrogen peroxide, and the honey's antibacterial activity is similarly degraded because of that. Now, hydrogen peroxide also break down when exposed to an enzyme found in saliva and blood. Those bubbles you see when you pour hydrogen peroxide on a cut is the peroxide breaking down. After it breaks down, it loses its antibacterial activity. So there is a lot in hydrogen peroxide that they need to be careful with, in the sense of, when they're collecting so regular honey, if they're not careful in their how they produce it, the antibacterial activity degraded so much that what left in the jar is just sugar, or is just basically liquid sugars. So that's why not all honey produce equally in that sense. Now, this is what makes it different with Manuka honey. More importantly, in 1981, researcher from the New Zealand University of Waikato discovered that even after the hydrogen peroxide in Manuka honey was neutralized, so when Manuka honey heated to be purified, the hydrogen peroxide gone, technically gone. It still exhibited strong antibacterial activity. Now, this antibacterial activity, because it's nothing to do with the uh, hydrogen peroxide, then this antibacterial activity is referred to as a non-peroxide activity, or what we call the NPA. This distinguishes Manuka from all other honeys and is why Manuka honey is sought after. So this is why Manuka honey is so good, because although Manuka honey is actually pasteurized, heated to actually purified from all other toxin, components from the raw honey, it still have a very high activity, high antibacterial activity, of which confuses or surprise uh, the researchers. Now, why the non-peroxide activity available, the unique non-peroxide activity available? Now, this is after 30 years, the researchers able to identify this is because of the methyl glyoxal, or what they call MgO. This is the active ingredient that is responsible for this NPA. And methyl glyoxal occurs naturally in Manuka honey. an organically occurring component found in Manuka flower nectar. So, so this is why Manuka honey is so good because of the high concentration of the MgO. Now, to say that other honey doesn't have that, not necessarily. All other honey contains MgO, but it contains a very small amount, typically only typically 0 to 7 milligram per kilogram, while Manuka honey contains more than 100 times than the MgO found in normal honey. So this is very important later on when we discuss about the ratings. Okay, and and the issue, remember when the issue that I said before, there are fake Manuka honey. People, just because they know that Manuka honey is actually popular, they produce honey. It's not Manuka because at that time there is no ratings, there is no way for authenticate the Manuka honey. They just produce honey and then label it Manuka honey to get it more higher prices to sell. But no antibacterial effect as much as Manuka honey. So that's where it's actually important for us. Now, you can see also here that not all Manuka honey, according to this website, is created equally. This has led to okay, this one, right? Decades later, now this is the one that issue telling us the story, why the issue that I told you. Decades later, after Manuka's NPA was attributed to MgO, researchers discovered that not all Manuka honey contains significant levels of MgO. Not all Manuka honey has non-parasite antibacterial activity. This has led to confusion for consumers that assume all Manuka honey has the powerful antimicrobial properties that Manuka has become famous for. Some unscrupulous honey producers have taken advantage of this confusion and marketed their Manuka honey in ways that obscure the non-parasite activity of their honey. This is why it's important to know which Manuka honey grading system are reliable. So this is why where uh, I think this is point out the important, to know, to understand that the rating, the authentication system needs to be available for the market, for the protection of us as the customer, because it happens in the past. There is a news, of this happening where the one of the biggest one of the big honey producer got fined by Australian, I think Australian government, uh because of a false, I think false advertising or something like that. i'm not going to say I'm not going to say the name, but you guys can research about it, in the past, about this, because it happens, because at that time there is no rating, there's no grading, and there is no regulation about it. Now it's more rigorous process. All Manuka honey have to go through a more rigorous process to prove the authenticity of Manuka honey. If not, then you have to question the authenticity of Manuka honey that you're buying. Okay. Now, what is the grading? The grading is to basically uh, prove the non-parasite activity and how strong it is. Now, there is the UMF uh, rating system, which is the original rating system, which is a good one also. Okay, because this is the unique Manuka factor, which is one of the best grading system out there. It's run by the Unique Manuka Factor Honey Association, third party New Zealand organization, which is then it's oversees the use of the UMF trademark and honey quality testing. So this is the testing, the rigorous testing independently done for grading and authenticating the Manuka honey before Manuka honey that will be put into the market. Now, so at least the UMFHA of 100 milligram per kilogram of leptospirin is enough to guarantee that the honey is genuine Manuka. So, and they use the grade of 5 to 20 plus, but you can also find 30 plus or higher, but these are very very rare and usually collectibles honey, because the price, if you research Manuka honey, Manuka honey UMF 30 plus, it's really 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 expensive, and you'll be amazed of how much is the price can sold for on that one. And yeah, okay, let me check. Okay, so let me just do a quick research. uh, Manuka honey UMF 30 plus price. Where is it? I thought that should be. Let's see. And it usually comes in a box, of wooden box and things like that. Showing from there. Let's see in Google. Yeah. See. Okay. Let me just show you this. So this is the. Look at that. 32 plus UMF. The price is $1,700 New Zealand dollars. So roughly the same. And that's for how many? What is the and it comes in wooden box, things like that. MGO 1800, and it's 250 gram, which is very expensive when it's actually becoming 32 plus. It's non-marketable. It's very very much not commercialized. And you can see, yeah, a lot of them. You can see it, like even 1700 there are $281. It's more too much, at the end of the day. That's very very expensive. Okay, so just to prove. So when it comes to this, it becomes in a box, and it's more like collectibles, rather than for consumption, which is, yeah. Anyway, let's go back. So yeah, so that's why uh it is very 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 good. The higher the UMF number, the it's proof, it's showing the level activity of the antibacterial activity. Now another one is K factor, which is, this is basically just showing the the grading, but this is actually not really that good when I read about it. uh K factor fails to measure the therapeutic quality of honey, uh, but it's only measuring the purity of the product. So the next one, the one that the one that in Australia we're using the grading system, the rating system of MGO, which is straightforward. What is the MGO components in the Manuka honey? So it ranges from, I think it's 50, 100 to above 550, 850, and you can see, right, until 1800, MGO level, because it's very, very rare in that sense. The higher it gets, the higher MGO level, the more difficult it is to actually get it. The more rare, and thus more expensive, because it's more rare for you to actually achieve the levels of that MGO. So you can see here, the good thing of using the MGO level is a straightforward system. It's relatively easy for any company to get their honey tested and put the results on their labels. The downside of this third party oversight, now we have this now, which is the what we call Australian Manuka Honey Association, of which they put, the testing. They do the independent testing for people, and then they do the certification of authenticity of Manuka honey, and you'll see that later. So the two that I think we use the most is the MGO and the UMF, or they call NPA. Okay, there's another NPA. I think the NPA, not MGS. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the main one is the UMF factor. Yeah, sorry. There you go. UMF factor, and then the MGO factor. Okay, this one. So this is why the Australian Manuka Honey Association, this is the organization that actually trying to regulate this, and to show that the Manuka honey is actually authentic and have the MGO level unique to Australia. Now, so the authenticity mark, the mark of authenticity, is basically there are two mark that AMHA is actually provide. One of them is actually the authentic marking, which is two two factors needs to be achieved, which is the MGO level of more than 85 milligram per kilogram, of which this is showing that it has to be at least 85 MGO, and then the dihydroxyacetone, or DHA, of more than 170 milligram. Now, and the other one is authorized. Now, this actually for a much lower MGO levels. So this is when the MGO is 30 milligram or more. That's when it will receive the AMHA authorized. Okay, and this is due to natural, why there are Manuka honey that will be authorized even though it has a lower MGO. So between 30 to 85, right? So why? It's because the natural regional variation of the in the honey crop, where a product does not qualify for the higher grades. So there are different things. So by doing this, at least they are putting that yes, this is actually Manuka honey, but it has a lower grade, a lower uh, ingredients of lower containment of MGO level, concentration of MGO. So that's how you actually, you know they actually now we actually now have the authentication using the UMF and the MGO. Okay. And the next one that I really want to discuss is this. So this is the 11 nutrition. The benefits is it helps with digestive health. The second one is promote skin health, treat infection. Or now this is depending on the MGO level. The higher the MGO level, which is if it's more than the you know f- I think UMF 15, I believe. Let me check. So where is that the MGO? So basically, the higher the level of the MGO or the UMF, I believe the 15 is actually more for the medical, starting for the medical. The 10, I think the 10 can be medical also, but the 15 is more for uh, like oral care and wound treatment. But the higher of that, the 20 is more for therapeutical benefits. So that's why, you know, if you're getting a very, very low Manuka honey with UMF 5 or MGO level very, very low, like 10, 30 or something like that, it's basically have a very low effect for those, and we can consider them basically like like just for sweetener for our you know toast or tea and things like that. It can help treat burns, wounds, and ulcers. Again, this is actually depending on the MGL level. Now, this is another one, may prevent tooth decay and gingivitis. And there is a studies also happen. So yeah, there is a lot of different things that may actually help the benefits that you can have by consuming Manuka honey. And again, this website will tell you about the grading system, the UMF, which is there you go. So 0 to 4 is non-therapeutic, 4 to 9 is general health, 10 to 14 support natural healing, and 15 plus support a superior level, which is therapeutic. So since the 15 plus is more therapeutic effect, so 20 is even higher, right? So that's why you need to understand why it's actually the price will basically different so much, you know, with this UMF different grading of Manukani. You can see it here. If we go to Chemist Warehouse, for example, in Australia, and if we type Manuka honey, and you can see, you can see cheap, Manuka honey, $39 or maybe lower. Yeah, 22, $23. But this MGO is 115, so it's just a standard 100, the minimum standard, right? And yeah, but you can see starting from 500 is already $70 and things like that, right? You can see that the higher the UMF, because of that, it's more expensive. Why? Because it's more difficult to actually collect honey that have higher level of antibacterial activities. That's why it's more expensive, because it's not only that Manuka honey is a rare commodity, and then it's a short period of collection, and then the next part is to get a collection of honey concentration of higher antibacterial activity is even more, making it more rare, and thus the price even goes higher. Okay, so that's why you can see it here, right? UMF 6. I don't know whether there is a MGO lower than ever sold lower than 100. Is there any? Oh yeah, MGO 8. This is 850. You can see 850 is already 114. Now this is 20 plus, already $100. And that's saying, is $85 off. So it means, they're putting it 100, $80. So yeah, so this is why uh you can see that Manuka honey is so special. This is what why Manuka honey is called as the gold, the liquid gold. So yeah, so hopefully you guys learn hopefully you guys learn something from this. Although all honey have the antibacterial, activity, it's different than Manuka honey because most of honey, as we said, it's when it's pasteurized, the antibacterial effect is actually the activity is actually completely gone. Now, to say this, although Manuka honey is actually can uh can bear heat more, with the antibacterial activities, it's not to say that you can then heat up honey, Manuka honey, and not expect it to actually change or degrade it. Now, we just need to understand that when you heat heat Manuka honey in a very high temperature, it will change. That's why it's not recommended to put Manuka honey still, in a boiling water. When you make a tea, you put a boiling water and then you put Manuka honey straight away, or you put the Manuka honey and then you put a boiling water on top of it straight away. It will degraded the honey so much if you expose Manuka honey to a very high temperature for a very long period of time. Now there is a research on this that you know that shows that I just want to share lastly before I close this session is this. What happens to Manuka honey when it's heated? So you can see there is this summary here straight away. 2 hours at 90 degrees Celsius, the MGO drops by 55%. So there is a significant effect if you heat honey in a very high temperature. So that's something that we just need to understand, because this is what they find out. At a high temperature for more than 10 minutes, all honey changes its composition, and Manuka honey is no exception. Okay? So, although originally, if you can then have Manuka honey with the 800 MGO level, like, or 550 MGO level, it means, before the pasteurization, the MGO level is actually much higher, because pasteurization means you heat the Manuka honey to purify it. Thus, it change it. But what they found is after heating, Manuka honey still have a higher level of MGO. So now there you go, right? So yeah, so the results shows that prolonged heating at 90 degrees Celsius for up to 2 hours decrease the MGO level gradually with more than 55%. So it will gradually drop. If you heat it up in the pot, at 90 degrees, it will drop it. Okay. So thus this will affect the the honey. So be careful with it. So if you wanted to actually make it a tea, make sure you don't put where is that? Yes, there you go. Of course, honey is heated when we use it in tea, for example. So that's, when you're making tea, don't put the honey in a boiling water when you just put it. Leave it for a while, the tea, make the tea first, and then put the honey later on. Okay? So you can see, so this is what they're saying. Of course, honey is heated when we use in hot teas, but the temperature is not that high. If we put it when we are ready to drink it, not immediately after we pour the boiling water on the herbs, and we drink it in a short period of time. So that's another important things that we need to understand about and to know about Manuka honey. It will, if we treat it properly, if we do it properly, then we can get all the benefits, the special benefits of Manuka honey. So thus, buying an expensive Manuka honey, but if you drink it wrong, then you lose the benefits, because Manuka honey is no different with any other honey in itself. It reacts to heat, although it can last longer. It can the antibacterial if activities last uh longer than just a regular honey, but still it will degrade it if you expose it for a long time. So hope this helps, and hope this uh give you an idea. The product, I'm just going to now show you the product that we have in Atomy. Atomy Australia is the one that providing honey. Sorry, let me just put matomy.com/au. There you go. Much better. Okay. Now, Manuka honey is, there you go. So this is our Manuka honey, and our Manuka honey, Atomy Manuka honey, is an MGO 830 plus. So it's the UMF 20 plus. So it's the higher grade of MGO, and you can see it here. So it's MGO 830 plus, of which it's a UMF 20 plus, and this is actually mark the AMHA authentic, and I have even received the report, which is, I'm very proud of this product. This is an Australian product in from Western Australia, and the test result for the batch of of the production, the one that I have the report, although this is saying 830 plus, like a minimum of, this means the MGO a level contained in the jar, a minimum of 830 MGO. Now the report, the batch that actually being sampled and tested and authenticated, is showing more than 1000 MGO level. So that's why it's very special, and you can see how much is the price. The price is actually $80. So if you're a member of Atomy, if you want to buy, you buy it at $80, and I show you the price before as a comparison with other uh, at the normal website like Chemist Warehouse and things like that. Yeah, you do your, be a smart consumer, right? You choose for yourself, right? If you love Manuka honey, try, do your own research. I love our Atomy Manuka honey because it gives you the, with all this marking, with those with all this, you know uh, authenticity marking, I know for sure that the product is actually a high quality, and I know it's actually a high level. It's not just regular honey. Okay, so that's why uh, just a short. Oh, I didn't actually show it. Okay, let me just show it now. So this is our honey. Sorry for that. The MGO is actually 830. Yeah, so you can see it here. So this is Australian product, and the price is actually $80. So be wise, guys, as a consumer. Uh, and you can see that our Manuka honey has the authenticity marking here. And if you see that, you can see it's actually AMHA authentic. And you can see it here. That's MGO 830 plus. So unless you have that authenticity mark, it's 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 questionable of the levels. Okay, so that's it from me. Hope you guys have the benefits, and hope I added value to you, and to give you more the knowledge, so then you can be a more smart consumer. Do the smart thing for you and choose the best product for yourself. My name is Chris E. I'm a sales master from Sydney, Australia. Thank you guys. Bye bye.